I want to see the alert. My voice came out weaker than I wanted, but Daniel understood me. He turned my phone so I could read the lock screen without touching it. The transfer request was still there. $31,000. Destination account. Melissa Marcia, joint checking. My sister's name hit harder than the number. And suddenly, I was back 3 days before surgery, sitting on the edge of my bed while Mom watched me pack an overnight bag. She had been strangely casual. Melissa and Aaron are having trouble with the down payment, she said. They're only short by a little. I kept folding clothes. How little? Mom hesitated. About 30,000. I looked up. That number was too close. Then she smiled like she was discussing groceries. You don't really need all that money sitting in your education account, do you? Your scholarships cover most of school. No. Her smile tightened. Tracy, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. That money covers tuition, housing, books, and whatever happens if I can't work after surgery. Dad walked in halfway through the argument. He didn't ask what was happening. He already knew. Your sister needs it now, he said. College can wait. I stared at him. College can wait. You're 21, you have time. And Melissa does. Dad folded his arms. She's building a family. That sentence told me everything. Her house mattered more than my degree. Her plans mattered more than mine. I stood and faced both of them. You do not have permission to move $1 from that account. Mom's expression changed instantly. Too instantly. Fine, she said. Nobody is touching your precious money. Then, almost as an afterthought, she asked, how long did the surgeon say you'll be under? I frowned. Why? I'm your mother, I'm worried. 3 or 4 hours. And you won't have your phone afterward. Probably not right away. She nodded. At the time, I thought the questions were normal. Now, lying in that hospital bed with Daniel beside me, they sounded like planning. He opened his folder. Tracy, I need you to answer this clearly. Did you ever authorize Melissa to receive money from this account? No. Did you name her as a beneficiary? No. Did you verbally approve this transfer? Absolutely not. Daniel wrote something down. Good. Good. It means the timing matters. Before I could ask what that meant, the hospital room door opened. Mom walked in first carrying flowers. Dad followed with a paper coffee cup in one hand. They both smiled. Then Mom saw Daniel. Her smile vanished. Dad stopped in the doorway. Why is he here? Daniel calmly closed the folder. Then he stood, placed every financial document back inside his briefcase, and locked it. Mom recovered first. Tracy just had spinal surgery, she said sharply. She's medicated. Whatever you're discussing can wait. Daniel didn't move. Dad looked toward Nurse Alina. This is a family matter. We'd like everyone else to leave. Alina glanced at me instead. That small gesture mattered. For once, nobody was automatically giving my parents control. I want him to stay, I said. Mom stared at me. Tracy, you don't even know who this man is. Then why do you? Silence. Daniel remained beside my bed. I looked directly at Mom. Did you try to transfer my money? It's a misunderstanding. $31,000 is a misunderstanding. You agreed to help Melissa. No, I didn't. Dad stepped forward. That money has always been managed by us. Stop acting like we stole something off the street. It's my college fund. It's family money, he snapped. We've handled that account for years. Alina quietly began documenting my statement. I noticed Mom watching her. What are you writing? Ms. Marcia has stated that she did not authorize the transfer. Mom's face tightened. Daniel finally opened his folder again. There's something all of you need to understand, he said. This isn't an ordinary savings account. Dad went still. I frowned. What does that mean? Your grandmother, Alina, established legal restrictions on these funds. I stared at him. Grandma had contributed to my education for years, but nobody had ever told me the account itself had been protected. Mom scoffed. Alina was elderly. She didn't understand half of what people put in front of her. Daniel looked at her. Then perhaps you can explain something. Mom said nothing. If Mrs. Marcia didn't understand her financial arrangements, why did you attempt to transfer the entire balance into Melissa's joint checking account, rather than use it for one of Tracy's approved expenses? Dad's phone suddenly rang. Melissa. He answered too quickly, and the speaker activated for barely a second. But 1 second was enough. Dad, why is the bank saying the transfer was blocked? Dad immediately grabbed at the screen. My breath caught. Blocked. Mom lunged toward him. Hang up. The call ended. I looked at Daniel. Wait, you mean they didn't get it? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked from my parents back to me. Tracy, he said quietly, your grandmother expected someone to try this. Stop turning her against us. Mom's voice cut across the hospital room. Daniel didn't even look at her. Mrs. Marcia, I'm explaining what happened to Tracy's money. She just had surgery. And someone attempted to transfer her entire education fund while she was unconscious. Dad's jaw tightened. You keep saying attempted. I looked at Daniel. So the money is still there. He nodded. For now, that's what you need to know. My shoulders sank into the pillow. $31,000 hadn't disappeared into Melissa's account. But Daniel wasn't finished. Your grandmother established safeguards, he said. Melissa's joint account wasn't an approved destination. The transfer triggered an automatic freeze. Mom folded her arms. This is ridiculous. There's more. Your administrative access has been suspended pending review. Dad stepped forward. You can't do that. I didn't, Daniel replied. The protection built into the account did. For the first time, my parents weren't controlling the conversation. Daniel removed a document. Here, the attempted transfer timestamp. He turned it toward me. My stomach tightened. It had been submitted while I was under anesthesia. Alina checked the hospital record. She was still in surgery. That gave the bank alert an independent timeline. Then another memory hit me. My handbag. Mom looked at me. What? You insisted on keeping it during surgery. The hospital room wasn't secure. They offered me a locker. Dad shook his head. What are you accusing us of? I remembered the paperwork inside that bag, documents containing information about my education account. You had my financial papers. We didn't touch anything, Dad said. Daniel remained calm. We don't need to argue about that. The bank preserved the access records. Dad stopped talking. I turned toward Daniel. How did Grandma know to do any of this? He started opening the folder. Then my phone vibrated. A message from Melissa. Daniel handed it to me after Alina placed the phone within reach. Melissa had sent a screenshot. I enlarged it. There was Mom's conversation with Dad. Then the sentence that made every excuse in the room worthless. Do it now while she can't check. Below the screenshot, Melissa had written, Tracy, they told me you agreed to this. I looked up. Mom stared at my phone. She didn't say misunderstanding anymore. She didn't say family money. She said nothing. Daniel reached deeper into his folder and removed a sealed document bearing Grandma Alina's name. Before anyone could speak, he held it in front of me. Now, he said, you need to know why your grandmother changed everything. Daniel placed Grandma Alina's document on the table beside my bed. Your grandmother changed the structure of your education fund several months before she died, he said. I looked from him to my parents. Why? Daniel opened the document. Because your mother had started asking questions. Mom immediately shook her head. That is not what happened. Daniel continued. She repeatedly asked Alina whether money intended for one grandchild's education could legally be used for another grandchild. Melissa's house. Suddenly, the pieces fit. Grandma had known Melissa and her husband were struggling to put together a down payment. Instead of accusing anyone, she had quietly protected me. Daniel explained that Grandma restructured my education savings into a protected trust. I was the sole beneficiary. The money could pay for tuition, books, educational living expenses, and qualifying medical needs. But a large transfer to an unrelated third-party account required trustee approval. And you're the trustee, I asked. Successor trustee, Daniel said. Your grandmother appointed me because she wanted someone independent handling the restrictions if necessary. Dad scoffed. We managed that money for years. You had administrative access, Daniel corrected. You did not have unrestricted ownership. That distinction had just saved my future. Grandma had also arranged automatic alerts and suspension procedures for suspicious transactions. My parents apparently believed their old access still gave them the power to move my money. So while I lay unconscious in surgery, they tried. And triggered every protection Grandma had created. Tell me one thing, I said. Did Melissa get any of it? Daniel shook his head. Not $1. I closed my eyes for a second. Then I looked at Mom. You waited until I was unconscious. She stared at the floor. Finally, she said, Melissa needed it urgently. That isn't what I asked. We were going to replace it. When? No answer. How was I supposed to pay for school if you did? Dad stepped in. Families sacrifice for each other, Tracy. I looked at him. Sacrifice requires consent. Nobody answered that. Melissa arrived later, visibly shaken. She showed me the messages our parents had sent her. They had told her I'd agreed to contribute the money toward her house. I wouldn't have taken it if I knew, she said. I'm not accepting anything from that account. Mom tried to interrupt. Melissa stopped her. No, you told me Tracy offered. Whatever justification Mom had expected from Melissa disappeared. Daniel handled the financial aftermath immediately. Mom and Dad were permanently removed from every administrative role connected to the trust. The bank preserved the transfer request, access records, destination account information, and timestamps, and the attempted transaction was formally referred for review. I kept copies of everything: Mom's text, Melissa's messages, the banking records, and the hospital timeline showing I was under anesthesia when the transfer was initiated. Once I was strong enough, I removed my parents from every other financial authorization I controlled. The strangest part was that I had entered that hospital completely dependent on them. I woke up barely able to sit upright. Yet by the time they left my room, they had no access to my college fund, no control over my finances, and no believable explanation for what they had done. During my recovery, Daniel helped me establish independent banking and showed me exactly how Grandma had structured the trust. The $31,000 remained protected and continued, covering legitimate education expenses. After rehabilitation, I returned to college. My relationship with my parents never returned to what it had been. I kept strict boundaries, especially around money. Melissa stopped letting them use her financial problems as an excuse to interfere in my life. And I kept Grandma's trust documents. Not because I enjoyed remembering what my parents tried to do, but because those papers reminded me of something far more important. Grandma had seen the danger before I did.